Listening Library presents Disney Before the Story, Mulan's Secret Plan, Pocahontas Leads the Way, and Snow White's Birthday Wish by Tessa Roehl. Read for you by Emily Wu Zeller, Kimberly Woods, and Erin Bennett.
Mulan's Secret Plan. Chapter 1. A Little Excitement. On the first day of school, Mulan woke up before the sun. This was not unusual, as Mulan always rose before dawn. She had to in order to complete her chores before breakfast. But this morning felt different. Today she was full of energy, as if everything in front of her were a challenge she couldn't wait to conquer. She wasn't just finishing chores before the sun rose. She was racing the sun, determined to move faster than the light could streak through the sky. Mulan fed little brother, who barked in appreciation.
"I'll have all sorts of stories to tell you later,"
she told her dog. In the chicken coop, Mulan scattered feet on the ground, dreaming about what the day might have in store. Would she learn math today? Writing? She gathered up eggs from the coop. 1, 2, 3, she counted as the hens waddled toward their breakfast. She balanced the eggs carefully in her arms as she ran back toward her house, across the moon bridge and over the pond. Mulan skipped over the last few garden stones and leaped up the steps of her house into the kitchen, almost tripping over little brother. One of the eggs flew out from where she was clutching it against her robe, but she swooped down and caught it with her left hand before it cracked on the ground. Mulan looked up to see her mother pouring tea for Grandmother Fa, who was seated at the table. Both women were laughing as they watched Mulan. "Are you trying to ruin an old lady's breakfast, Mulan?" Grandmother Fa asked. Mulan's mother set down the teapot and took the eggs, cradling them more gently than Mulan had. "Never, Grandmother. I haven't broken an egg yet, have I?" Mulan joined her at the table. "I do sometimes wonder how that's possible," her mother said, shaking her head as she prepared breakfast. "I'm challenging myself." Mulan grinned. "Father is always saying we should challenge ourselves. That's how we learn." "If your father were here," her mother said, "I think he would add that challenging yourself can mean more than jumping across ponds and leaping high fences." "And playing catch with our breakfast." Grandmother Fa smiled over her tea. "But Father is away fighting in the war, and we haven't heard from him in more than a month," Mulan said, a little sadly. "Your father may not be sitting at this table, but his honor is still here. All of his lessons, in one way or another, lead back to honoring yourself and honoring your family," her grandmother said. Mulan always wanted to honor her brave father. She perked up. "Maybe going to school today will help me understand Father's lessons better, and I'll learn even more to show him when he returns." Grandmother Fa and Mulan's mother exchanged a look. The room was quiet for a few moments as they all sat down to eat. "Mulan," her mother said finally. Mulan looked up from her breakfast. "Remember that this may not be the kind of school you are expecting. You will learn things, important things, but they won't be the same things your father learned. It won't be quite like the school the boys attend. And the lessons are only for 6 weeks." Mulan knew this. Her mother and grandmother had been cautioning her about it ever since they announced that Mulan would start attending a class with the other village girls. "I know, Mother," Mulan said, "but I can still be excited, can't I?" "Yes," her mother replied. She squeezed her daughter's hand. "You certainly can." Her grandmother winked. "A little excitement never hurts." After breakfast, Mulan's mother and grandmother escorted Mulan from their home to the village. Mulan's village was small enough that she knew most of the people, but she didn't know everyone. She was often busy at home doing chores and spending time with her family, so she did not go into the village every day. When she did have a chance to venture out, she loved seeing the sights of the world beyond her home's walls. Stalls sold fresh fish brought in on carts from the neighboring town. Ladies walked around with baskets, buying food for their families. Usually, most exciting of all was catching a glimpse of the village schoolhouse and the small parade of students entering for lessons. Today, for once, Mulan was focused on what she would be learning when she walked into school, rather than on what the boys would be learning. But to her surprise, her mother and grandmother led her past the school and through the village to a house, where they stopped outside the gate. Mulan knew this house. May, a girl just 1 year older than Mulan, lived there. It was one of the largest homes in the village, though Mulan had never been inside. Mulan gave her mother a confused look. "I told you, Mulan, it's a different kind of school," her mother said. "But—" Mulan glanced back toward the schoolhouse, seeing the last of the boys trickle through the door. Grandmother Fa placed a hand on her back as though she could sense Mulan's concern. "You will be learning here." Mulan took a breath and nodded. What did it matter where she learned? She would be a student. Here. And then another sight made her heart lift. Her friend Na was walking up the path, alongside her mother. Mulan waved. She felt better already, knowing she would have a friend. As Na's mother greeted Mulan's mother and grandmother, suddenly Mulan couldn't wait to go inside. "Ready?" Mulan asked Na.
If you are,
Na said. The group opened the gate and walked through the courtyard of May's house. It was larger than the courtyard at Mulan's home, though it too had a temple, a pond, a moon bridge, and rising beyond it all, the family home. The girls were led inside the main house and into a large room. Seated on woven mats on the floor were May and another girl her age named Chen. Mulan also saw 2 other girls whom she didn't know well, Ying and Jin. There was no teacher there yet. Mulan turned back to the door. Her mother and grandmother smiled, their faces encouraging. Mulan felt the first small flutter of nerves in her throat, but she wanted to be brave. She waved goodbye, and they left with Na's mother. The 6 girls were alone. Mulan, now seated next to Na, examined the room properly for the first time. The girls faced a table with a collection of objects on top. There were a few teapots, a bag of rice next to a small bowl of cooked rice, several pieces of paper, which Mulan was itching to touch. She'd never had the chance to learn to write. She closed her eyes, imagining what it might feel like to be the one who let ink flow onto paper. When she opened them, she spotted something else on the table that made her heart thump harder.
Na, look, an abacus!
When her father was home, Mulan loved watching him slide beads around the contraption as he used it to solve math problems.
Oh,
Na breathed.
we'll get to learn math.
"I can't wait," Mulan said, grinning.
And did you see the paper? I'll bet we learn writing, too. What kind of lessons do you suppose could come from the teapots?
Na asked. Mulan was about to suggest that perhaps the teapots and the rice were set out for lunch when a soft breeze ruffled the hair on her neck. A woman entered the room. Her face was powdered white. Her lips were pursed tightly together and colored with bright red paint. Her hair was piled high on top of her head. Her arms crossed inside the sleeves of her robe so her hands were hidden. The buzz of excitement in the air vanished as the woman took her place behind the table in front of the girls. Her figure was slight, but considering the look of steel on her face, Mulan had a feeling this woman would be a match for any of the village's toughest warriors. When she opened her mouth to speak, the words that came out were not what Mulan had expected. "Greetings, girls. I am your matchmaker." Chapter 2. The Matchmaker. The buzz in the room was back. The girls whispered to each other.
A matchmaker?
Mulan asked Na under her breath.
Already?
Sample complete. Ready to continue?